Have you ever stared at the seat map while booking a flight and wondered, if something goes wrong, where should I be sitting? It's not a silly question. In fact, it's one of the most searched aviation topics on the internet. And today we're going to break it down using checkmark real crash data, checkmark scientific analysis, checkmark survival stories from passengers who live to tell the tale, checkmark insights from pilots and flight attendants. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where to sit, what to avoid, and how to increase your chances of walking away from the unthinkable. Section 1. Why this question matters. Let's be clear. Flying is incredibly safe. In fact, you're more likely to be struck by lightning twice than to die in a plane crash. But here's the thing. When crashes do happen, your seat can make a difference. In a split-second emergency, a few rows can mean the difference between life and death. So the question isn't paranoid, it's practical. Wouldn't you want to give yourself every possible advantage? Section 2. What the numbers say, FAA and TIME data. Let's start with the numbers. In 2015, Time magazine did an in-depth analysis of 17 crashes over 35 years using FAA data. Here's what they found. Passengers in the rear third of the plane had a 32% fatality rate. Those in the middle third, 39%. Front third, 38%. Wait, the middle is the most dangerous? Apparently, yes. The rear of the plane statistically gives you a slight edge in survival. But keep watching, because raw numbers don't tell the whole story. Section 3. The physics of a crash, where impact matters. In most crashes, the front of the plane hits the ground first, whether it's a nosedive, hard landing, or runway overrun. That means people seated up front often take the brunt of the impact. The middle section, near the wings, might seem like a safe zone, but that's where the fuel tanks are stored. Not ideal during an explosion or fire. The rear of the plane? It's not immune, but it tends to absorb less direct force in many scenarios. Think of it like a car crash. Rear passengers often fare better than those in the front seats. Section 4. Real-world crash case studies. Let's bring in some real examples. United Airlines Flight 232, 1989. The aircraft lost all hydraulic systems and crash-landed in Iowa. 184 people were on board. Only 111 survived. The majority of survivors were seated in the tail section. TAM Airlines Flight 3054, 2007, Brazil. An Airbus A320 overran the runway at high speed and burst into flames. Passengers seated behind row 15 had the highest survival rate. The front section was completely engulfed. Andes Flight Disaster, 1972. Also known as the Alive Crash, this involved a rugby team whose plane crashed into the Andes Mountains. Only those in the rear survived the initial impact. These aren't isolated examples. There's a pattern here, and it's worth paying attention to. Section 5. Expert Insights. Pilots and flight attendants. To get a deeper understanding, let's hear from those who know aircraft best. Captain James Holloway, a retired commercial pilot with over 20 years of experience, shares, "People worry about crashes, but statistically, you're safer in the air than in your own car. That said, where you sit can make a difference when things go wrong." Elena Ruiz, a senior cabin crew member with over 15 years of experience, adds, "I always tell my family to sit near the back. In evacuations, the front sometimes gets chaotic. People panic, block the aisles. Those at the back are usually calmer and have more time to react." She continues, "Also, we're trained to evacuate from the rear doors first when possible. If the nose is damaged, that's your only way out." Section 6. Survivor Stories. First-hand accounts. Let's hear from someone who experienced a crash firsthand. Rachel Moore, survivor of a 1998 runway overrun accident, recounts, "I was seated in row 25 near the back. The impact was terrifying, but it was over so fast. We smelled smoke, saw flames, and the back crew opened the rear door within seconds. I didn't even grab my bag. I just ran. I later learned people in the front had trouble getting out because the aisle was blocked." Rachel's story is a rare one, but it echoes what the data says. The rear of the plane often has slightly higher survival rates. Section 7. Aisle versus window versus middle. All right, you've picked the rear section. But where exactly should you sit in the row? Let's talk aisle, middle, and window. Aisle seats, faster access to exits. Easier to escape if the cabin fills with smoke. Middle seats, you're sandwiched. Slower escape time. Window seats, better for sleep or comfort, but you're furthest from the aisle in an emergency. So if survival is your top priority, choose an aisle seat near an exit row, preferably in the rear third of the aircraft. Section 8. The exit row illusion. Exit rows seem like a smart choice, right? More legroom, faster escape, but not so fast. Not all exit row seats recline, and some are right next to overwing exits, which can be tricky to operate. Also, in some crashes, these exits are jammed or inaccessible. So yes, sitting near an exit row gives you an edge, but only if you're alert and physically capable of opening a heavy 30-pound door. Section 9. Tips that could save your life. Here are some simple steps that can increase your chances of surviving a crash. Wear long sleeves and pants. Reduces burn injuries. Keep your seatbelt low and tight. Count the rows between you and the nearest exit. Keep shoes on during takeoff and landing. Listen to the safety briefing. Seriously. And perhaps most importantly, don't panic. Calm people survive. Section 10. Conclusion. Where should you sit? So let's recap. The safest seat on a plane? Aisle seat near the rear third, ideally close to an exit. But remember, there's no magic seat. Each crash is different, but knowing your best options can tip the odds in your favor. Now we want to hear from you. Where do you usually sit when you fly? Is it about comfort, safety, or maybe just habit? Drop a comment below and let's compare. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more real-life aviation stories and survival science. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay curious, stay safe, and choose your seat wisely.